Had fun on Sunday.
I bet.
So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was too much fun.
Congrats. Yay. Woohoo.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know. I get it. I've been there, I've seen it. But yeah. Me and my buddy Sam got fucking we had way too much joy and
I bet.
whatnot. Yeah, it was,
How did
I
you
don't know.
do?
I thought I was being responsible and then yeah.
Sneaks up quick.
Yeah, dude. I think honestly it was kind of stupid. Honestly, well, it was extremely dumb, but I feel like it wasn't until I was finally driving home at like 1:30 because let out at like 9
hmm
that I realized that probably fucked it up a little bit, probably overdid it. So,
Well, I mean, whatever. How many
yeah, I mean,
AFC
all's well that
championships do you
ends
get?
well.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, I guess
exactly.
you
I
guys get like 11, but most
Yeah, but
people.
like I've never been to a playoff game, you know?
That's fair.
And honestly, I didn't really start going to Chiefs games till like 2 years ago. And so
Bandwagon.
I know, dude. Hey, don't look in my closet full of opposing team jerseys. I got like five different NFL teams in there. So
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we're on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
pretty decent, dude. I'm gonna tell you. It's gonna take me a couple of weeks to recover from the AFC Championship game.
I bet.
Um,
It's gonna
I'm still yawning, but still fawning over the good
catching up.
times. So
Yeah,
but no, life's good, man. Feeling
good.
great. Definitely enjoying watching some Senior Bowl drills
Mm.
and it's like the world is rolling right into what we're into. So how are you doing, Christian?
I'm doing well. I too have been to an AFC Championship game at Arrowhead. It is crazy and hard to recover from. So I'm glad, or I'm happy for you, I guess, as much as I
Sure.
can be. Um,
Yeah, just give
but
us one more and then we'll hang it
then you'll
up.
chill out. Okay, cool. Well, you
Andy
can
will
maybe have one more.
retire. Call it
Yeah,
good.
all good. Okay, fair enough. Well, how's it going over there, AJ? Ah, shit.
Crickets.
Ah, shit. I fucked this. So anybody that was hoping to hear AJ, I scooted the pod up on people because of what I got going on during the middle of the week, and we couldn't all make it this week. So AJ will be back next week, but he's gonna take this week off. But we are still gonna hit you with some action, maybe not as much negative action as we
Whoa, yeah,
learned
dude.
last
Come on,
week.
dark clouds, come on us.
But we will see. But on that note, yeah, you mentioned it already, the Senior Bowl practices are getting on, the one-on-ones, all that fun stuff. So we're going to hit you with some more Senior Bowl reviews and some really just bowl game breakout performances and profiles on those guys. So if they happen to be seniors, great. Some of them aren't. But we're going to hit you with some bowl game breakout guys, and then we're going to do some quick Senior Bowl notes for you for guys that you should keep your eye on going into the Senior Bowl. So pretty excited. Do you want to get us started off with one of your bowl game breakouts?
Yes, I do. Okay. All right. I'm starting with Kyle Williams.
Okay.
All right. And so this guy had a great holiday bowl, which I think is kind of a weird name for a bowl game that takes
Mm-hmm.
place around Christmas. It's like juice, like, you know, they got fiestas and citruses and oranges and they got roses. Holiday bowl. I don't know. It sounds like a special they're running at KFC right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, he had a great game against Syracuse. They didn't pull off the win, but Williams, he handled himself pretty well. He had 172 yards on 10 catches, and it kind of just continued. the success that he'd kind of frequented throughout the year.
Hmm.
It was his fifth outing of over 100 yards, and that all adds up to just under 1,200 yards in a 13 game season for him, which is eighth best in college ball this year. And that pairs pretty nicely with his 14 touchdowns, which is fourth on the year, or yeah, fourth on the year amongst all pass catchers. So I thought it was pretty nice little cherry on top with the Holiday Bowl. I mean, 172 yards is nothing to laugh at. I think it gave him a little bit of a boost in the draft stock. That's just my opinion. But it follows up a decent junior year that he had. It was 843 yards with six scores.
Hmm.
And he's been a little all over the place. I feel like everybody transfers now, but he had 2 years with Washington State. And then prior to that, he had 3 years with UNLV. And that was pretty productive. It was between 400 and 600 yards per season, which I really highlight because, if you're coming out as a freshman and you're contributing, even at UNLV, it says something about you.
Yeah, big time.
So I like the consistent productivity throughout his 5 years playing. I like his size. He's 6 foot, 180 pounds. And watching the Syracuse game, he was just dusting guys off, man. I thought he was lightning fast, and he had a lot of quick moves, and the processing through his routes was pretty impressive. Um, he was just kind of shaking defenders not only through the routes but even with the ball in his hand.
Yeah.
But he was like a heads up player. Like he stayed active, and he just seemed confident. Like he trusted his skills to get the ball in his hands, like at the catch point,
Mm.
and kind of the way he fought through coverage. Um, but yeah, I don't know. His speed allowed him to get a lot of space from defenders at the line.
Yeah.
Uh, so that was nice because he did a good job of using that space and kind of varied the routes to get a lot of stops and like comeback routes to utilize that space he had underneath. But honestly, I thought, 180 used to feel like a small wide receiver. Like you were kind of worried about him, but he plays pretty aggressively.
Yeah.
Um, and really physically. I got down in a rabbit hole with him and I saw some 2023 film in a game versus Colorado where it was kind of highlighting the matchup between Kyle Williams and Travis Hunter.
Mm.
And in that game, there was some aggressive ball play going on between these guys, like after the whistle type physical slamming into the sidelines, just kind
Hmm.
of really aggressive stuff. But like eventually, Williams gets like a really beautiful release and shimmies around Hunter for a 34-yard touchdown. And I thought, like, obviously, Hunter can't win every play, but the way they were kind of going toe to toe, and then he was able to like, hold his own against that kind of competition level and then get a score on him. It really kind of showed me the heart of this guy. Like he's a really gritty, capable player, and I'm kind of shocked he's extremely underrated. PFF does not have him on their big board at all,
Yeah, that's
and
wild.
and as I'm watching the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl, it's like, everything I saw on tape is there. Like he's a physical guy. He's very quick, very feisty with the footwork and just kind of confident. He has that aura around him, like an alpha wide receiver type player
Hmm.
on the field. So I'm blown away, man. I'm keeping an eye on them. I don't know what you if you saw anything that you liked about him at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, mostly Senior Bowl stuff, like you're saying, his footwork is crazy. I will say he's listed at 5'10" for the Senior Bowl weight
Oh
measurements.
no.
5'10", one and a quarter. He did hit 182, so right around that same weight. But
Okay.
I think I'm with you. I think he plays bigger than that and more aggressive than you would think for 182. But really, it's just his footwork and then that speed. Like he's one of those guys that you're like, just wow, he's fast. Like a lot of these guys are fast, but there's some guys that just take it to the next level. I would argue that he just from what I've seen so far, he's probably going to be one of the faster guys at the combine. It just blazing speed, which just allowed him to take like all kinds of you give him an inch and he can just take it all the way up the sideline on you. And yeah, he's really polished, shifty. I haven't really dug as much into him as you have. I
Mhm.
watched some of the Holiday Bowl stuff, and I watched some highlights of him and stuff going into this week. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing. He's kind of forcing his way into the football world or the NFL sphere just by, that aggressive, fast play style. And yeah, I'm intrigued by him. He's definitely somebody to keep an eye on, especially for the Senior Bowl. So he kind of hits that big bowl breakout plus Senior Bowl as well.
Absolutely.
So I will also go with a wide receiver who is very fast, and is also going to be at the Senior Bowl. He broke out in the Pop-Tart Bowl, not as much as 172, but he did have 8 catches for 117 yards. And that's Jaylin Noel out of Iowa State. Kind of pairing him with Jaden Higgins, I thought was a really good pair. You had Jaden Higgins as the more physical contested catch guy, and then Jaylin Noel is just the burner. He weighed in 5'10", 196, or right around 5'10". I rounded for some of these guys. He was 5'9" and 3/4, but and then 196 on the weight. So pretty good weight there. Um, for the size, he's pretty compact, and then his acceleration and top end speed just leaves people in the dust all the time. Like those were the main things about him is just speed and explosiveness. Like just takes off on a dime. I mean, I watched the Baylor game and he just blew straight up the middle and caught a defender flat-footed, and went up to grab like this slightly underthrown ball with great concentration, like just blazing past this guy and then had to stop and turn around and kind of come back to the ball a little bit, and he just nailed that. He did it a couple times in that game. Like his highlights are like mostly him just burning people and going for long catches. He just absolutely torched Kansas this year as well for 21 yards per catch. 8 catches, 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had one of those
Mhm.
beautiful like late hands touchdowns at Arrowhead. This year was like 30 yards and just like waited till the last possible second, put those hands out and caught a touchdown against the defender. Maybe future telling that he'll be doing that in Arrowhead here in the near future. But yeah, man, I really liked him. I think he's got great routes, clean movements, runs through contact fairly well for like a little guy. I wouldn't say that he's gonna out physical anybody to the ball or anything if he has to, but he can get around these guys if he needs to. And you really can't give him space. If you give him space, just kind of like Kyle Williams, he's just gonna take it from you. That's a little space on the route, a little space in the open field, and he's just gonna dust you. His issues is he's undersized, playing at a smaller school, and then I didn't see him like creating a lot after the catch necessarily. Like obviously he got a lot of yards after the catch, but it was more like, oh, he caught it and there was just nobody in front of him, so he was just burning. I don't know. And I watched the Baylor game, the Iowa game, the Kansas game, and the Pop-Tart Bowl against Miami. And I wasn't seeing him like breaking a lot of tackles necessarily or like doing that kind of stuff. Doesn't mean he can't. Who knows? I'm gonna dig into more film on him, but I just haven't seen it a ton. But other than that, man, I think he's a fantastic watch. He had almost 1,200 yards this season, 9 touchdowns for the Iowa State Cyclones, and yeah, man, you can see why. And at the Senior Bowl right now, he is just completely outmaneuvering people in the one-on-one drills. He is getting open all the time and showing off his strong hands and concentration. And I think he's going to be a guy we need to look at going forward. In my opinion, watching the two, I know a lot of people are high on Jaden Higgins, but I think I am more excited about Jaylin Noel.
Yeah, you're not alone there with the Higgins Null thing, but I gotta agree with you, man. I think from what I'm seeing so far, He's got to be one of the better slot receivers in this class.
Hmm.
I mean, he's going to get some heat from Restrepo, right? And I haven't got
Yeah.
into some of these other guys yet, but honestly, I thought he had a great skill set there as a slot guy, and he had plenty of those short routes, and like he
Hmm.
really played them well with a ton of variety, which I thought was kind of cool. It almost felt like he ran routes like a running back almost on the short game,
Hmm.
but then he could really zoom when he wanted to go deep. Like you're saying, I watched that Kansas game and
Mm.
like, dude, he could cut clean and
Yeah.
just glide, man. Like he looked like he was playing at 1.25 speed. Everyone else is one speed, you know?
Hmm.
So it was cool to have that kind of variety between just doing short routes where you're sitting or getting a little space and then just burning clean. So I liked it. Honestly, he was at 185 on the sports reference, and so to see him at almost 200 pounds at 5'10", I like the stockier build.
Yeah.
I did think he got in and out of contact really well, and he was like working hard as a blocker as well. So
Hmm.
I think he's one of those guys that's gonna like sneak on an NFL field and just like consistently be out there. He might not be billed as a star out the gate, but I think he's
Hmm.
gonna get some play time. He looks like a solid, pretty complete package right now.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it was hard to find things I didn't like about him, which was kind of the theme of this week actually for me, but we'll get into
Yeah,
that
I
later.
was poo-pooing on guys last week, and this week I'm like, I'm pretty excited to see pretty much everything that's come across the screen so far this week, watching some film. So, um, all right, I guess I'll get into my next guy here. Whew, where he at? Where's he at? I wrote too many notes on this guy, so we're just gonna take it easy. But it's Damien Martinez, running back out of Miami,
Mm.
and he was also a participant in the Pop Tart Bowl. So I gotta say, it's not much better than the Holiday Bowl, but we'll take the Pop Tart.
Yeah.
Dude, he absolutely handled business. He had 179 yards on the ground on
Hmm.
only 14 carries. So 14 carats, straight gold. But looking at an outrageous average of 12.8 yards per carry,
Mm.
which is nuts. It's kind of shocking that it only resulted in a single touchdown.
Hmm.
That's got me kind of feeling weird, but also just one catch. So we'll get into the receiving game a little bit later, but I mean, honestly, that game was interesting to watch. He definitely took care of business. And while it was only his second game over 100 yards in the 2024 season, it was enough to get him over that 1,000-yard mark for the year with just 1,002 yards in the 13 game season. But I don't know. I'm taking a little further investigation is needed here with the Damian Martinez because he's listed at age like 20.9, so almost
Hmm.
21. And then I'm seeing stats for freshman, senior, junior, but then he's like fully listed as a national team Senior Bowl running back.
Hmm.
So I don't quite understand it, but
Yeah, it's weird.
yeah, I'm happy to see it though, because then we get official weights on this guy. He's
Hmm.
5'11", 226.
Yep.
So that's heavy. I mean, we really haven't seen a lot of guys that heavy in the past few years.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm glad to see that. Really keeping a close eye on him. I mentioned he only had 2 games over 100 yards this past season. Well, that was with Miami. The prior 2 seasons were with Oregon State, and
Hmm.
in both his freshman and sophomore years, he had 6 games over 100 yards in both of them.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's quite a impressive back with a good resume, a lot of consistency. That rookie year, his freshman year, sorry, was 982
Mm.
yards, and then he bumped it up to 1185 before coming back down to right at 1,000. So um, another wild thing is that his average carry was like 6.1 or better all 3 years.
Oh,
It's
wow.
right around that range. So it's just really, really extreme consistency across the board, which you really don't see a lot of, especially with the guy transfers and just kind of keeps up right where he left off. So I'll go with that. But like I was saying, the receiving game, especially even in that bowl game, was not really there, and it was limited pretty much throughout his whole career. I think he can improve quite a bit
Hmm.
because he wasn't really running routes. He was like a camper, like kind of just move to space and sit. He wasn't very, moving through his routes. So I think it just wasn't something they were asking him to do, and that's fine because that means he has potential to improve. It's not like he was just had a lot of drops and was just failing to get open. He just wasn't really part of that pass game. But I don't know. Watching him play, he had this style that was kind of something I hadn't really seen before. I call it like a skier's motion. A
Okay.
lot of like slides and glides
Hmm.
and like wide steps while keeping his feet really close to the ground. And I just haven't seen anything like that before, but mostly it was successful. He had a lot of like setup steps and then got situated before hitting a hole. But he had really good power and could break tackles well. I don't know if he has a top end speed. He's not one of those guys that was like getting to the edge. He's not much of a zone runner. He's really a up the middle kind of guy. And he can break off like, 6 yards, 6 yards, 6 yards. And then he might get a couple of chunk plays, but for the most part, he was, yeah, like a chunk play, not a big play kind of guy. Um, but despite that, in that Pop Tart Bowl, he did have a 75-yard touchdown. So
Hmm.
it's good to see him run off at least once um, because really it was not a lot of that. It was a ton of 8-yard carries, just kind of downhill, up the middle kind of guy. Um, and it was kind of just weird to me to see him because I liked a lot of it, but it was really like B minus for the vision and the lateral moves. Like they were there, but they weren't quick enough to be really effective.
Yeah.
So it was really just persistence, man. It was just, I don't know. He just hit through contact pretty well. It's 4.46 yards after contact. That's pretty good. I think he only trailed Ashton Genty and guys with over 100 carries in this draft class. So
Mm.
you can't really complain about that. But yes, just strong player with quick instincts, but he doesn't really have the speed to fully utilize his instincts. So I'm going to call him kind of a raw guy, almost like a Tyler Algier, but
Mm.
with more decisiveness.
Okay.
So I'm kind of into that. He's 13th on PFF's big board as far as like the running back ranks. And I think that's a little disrespectful. I do think he has like top eight potential. But he's going to have to get coached up a little bit. He's not like a, second round draft pick in the NFL, going to be day one starter. But I do think he's got a raw potential that could really add up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that 75-yard touchdown you were talking about in the Pop-Tart Bowl, he did kind of just slide around the edge there and like knock one guy over and took off or bounce off one guy or whatever. Yeah, he's a powerful runner, man. I was watching some of him and he just trucked a dude at Florida and just kept on running. That was really fun to watch. And interesting note on his weight. He was listed at 240 at Oregon State, and he came out and said that he's never played above 230 something. So just to show you not to ever get into these weights that these colleges are spewing
Wait till
out.
they hit the scale, huh?
Yeah, exactly. But it's still, like you said, he's a bigger back. That's nice to see. We got a few of those. Ollie Gordon's another guy who's probably going to be in that weight range. And it's cool to see. They're going to be, Tyler Algier, I think, is a really good comp for him. I haven't done into him as much as you either on this guy. Quick note though for you. He's in the Senior Bowl because juniors that declare for the NFL draft are eligible to play the Senior Bowl. To
What?
showcase for their, because basically the Senior Bowl is a showcase for top draft eligible players, not necessarily seniors. I just think most guys that declare as juniors don't feel like they have anything more to prove, and so they don't
Oh,
usually do it. But that is why I looked it up. I didn't just know that offhand. I looked it
well,
up while
yeah,
you
I'm
were
color me
so
impressed, dude. I'm glad I learned something here.
so that's why he's in the Senior Bowl as not a senior, very much a junior.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm with you. I think he's more of like a fourth, maybe fifth round pick, kind of a compliment role. But we've seen, I mean, Tyler Algier had a great rookie season where we thought he was going to be a compliment role, and he is now. But even now, he still gets a decent amount of work. So maybe we have kind of the same in line for Damien Martinez. Um, my second guy, I'm not gonna lie to you, is the most excited I've been so far watching tape on people
Uh,
for this draft cycle. It's Matthew Golden out of Texas. Not a senior, the only guy we're talking about today that's not in the Senior Bowl, but he was in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, and he had 7 catches for 149 yards and a touchdown, 21 yards per catch there, 987 on the year and 9 touchdowns. Man, it was hard for me to knock him at all, and I just kept watching game after game after game because I was just really impressed with him. I watched Colorado State, Michigan, Mississippi State, Georgia, the Peach Bowl, just all of those back to back. And this kid explodes off the line every single time. I think he's got really quick feet and movement. I think he just murders defenders constantly to get open, stops on a dime. He's also a really strong run blocker and pass blocker and screens and stuff. And I just think he has crispy movement on his routes, like super, super smooth. Against Colorado State, he lined up in the slot and did one of those like almost Devontae Adams-esque, like one step beat you, and now I'm open for a short touchdown. It was just smooth feet, smooth route, just murdered the guy. And he had a second TD in that game. Turns on a dime and like he's one of those quick like just comeback or not even comeback routes, just kind of the hook. So he ran up, did the hook, immediately got the ball in his hand. Once one step turn, gone. Like that's just that kind of movement where it's just really impressive. There wasn't a chance for anybody on the Colorado State team to do anything about it. Um, I felt like there was a lot left on the field against Georgia. The pressure really wasn't letting Ewers or Arch Manning when he came in get him the ball, but he was open a lot. And he had an absolutely nasty stop and go from the Texas 2 yard line. The ball was underthrown, and he still made a quick adjustment. I don't remember how long it was, like 30, 40 yards or whatever, but he just like completely murdered this guy on the outside with just a little like, oh, I'm doing this hook that I'm so good at, and then just nope, and just took off by him, got in between him and the safety and caught the underthrown ball. And then he had just an absolute nasty touchdown in the Peach Bowl where he just like burnt straight through the middle and just caught this ball right through the safety in the corner, and then he had a second TD in overtime. I just the way he fakes people out, I feel like he's just kind of on another level for college right now. Like he does these subtle slowdowns in his routes, quick moves. I just think he has all the tools, and he just felt like he was always in control of what he was doing. Last week we talked about some guys that had a little bit of like chaoticness to them.
mm,
Nothing Matthew Golden does seems chaotic. It all seems very cerebral, very, oh, this is what I've been planning to do. This is what I am meant to do, and this is how I'm going to beat you. I think he has really nice explosion and burst, and I just think he's super polished and concentrates on the ball really well. Um, his only negatives that I could come up with, like maybe the top end speed doesn't make him like a home run threat every single time. It's not that he's slow at all. I think he just is maybe has a little more burst than top end speed. So once he gets out into that open field, sometimes he can get caught by safeties and corners. Um, he doesn't he does this thing where like last week I talked about guys like Restrepo getting open after the play is kind of breaking down and always finding a way to get open. He seems to kind of just sit after running his route. So it's like kind of into that cerebral, like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And then as soon as he does it, he's like, okay, if I'm getting the ball, here we go. But then he just like, he doesn't move as much as some of the other guys while the quarterback is running around, which is something that can be taught to him, obviously, and like coached up a bit. I don't, it's not that he can't do it. It's just, I don't know. I just kept noticing it just felt like he was waiting to see what was going to happen instead of trying to find a way to get open after where he was. But other than that, man, like I think he's got all the tools to be a super, super solid receiver in the league. I don't know that he's not Jamar Chase or anybody crazy like that in terms of athletic ability or talent, but like just the way he plays the game is very quarterback friendly. And I think it's going to get him a lot of pop in the NFL draft.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I won't. I watched a Georgia game.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so everything you're saying about, I really like how you summed it up. Like he just kind of did his route and then was like, okay, what's happening? Like I saw plays where he stopped doing anything and like
hmm
the guy within 5 yards of him caught the ball and he's like, oh, I guess I'll go block now.
Yeah.
Like the dude looked like mad or bored and he was
hmm
open. So like if you watch, well, when I watched that film, I was like, how is he getting 149 yard, like 170 yards here? Because the whole first half, like he was just open the entire
hmm
time, and
Yeah.
the ball just never went to him.
Mm-mm.
And you could tell it was like he was like hands up after plays,
hmm
wasn't really feeling it. And then it was like, okay, 30 yarder, 40 yarder, 20
hmm
yarder. It was just like anytime viewers could get the ball to him, it was on.
Yeah.
It was pretty incredible. Yeah, this guy impressed me. I thought I know the size in there. He's only what 6 foot 195 according to
hmm
what PFF's rolling out, and but he's got like the presence of DK Metcalf on the field.
Yeah.
Like he just looks like he's there to play some fucking football, man. And you better not be the guy trying to stop him from doing it, because yeah, he looks serious. PFF's got him number 4 on the wide receiver big board right now.
hmm
So that feels pretty decent. I could see that. I mean, honestly, the what I saw, I don't know why you wouldn't go first round on this guy in the
Yeah.
NFL
No,
draft. So
absolutely.
we'll see how it pans out. But no, I too was pumped. I mean, he kind of, made you say Isaiah Bond, who after, transferring from Houston over to Texas. So
Yeah.
pretty good little year in the SEC. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I'm
was
with
blown
you,
away.
dude.
Yeah. I was
Pretty
very
pumped.
excited. Yeah. Well, I'm glad.
So,
I'm glad we're on the same page there. So yeah, you want to get into some quick Senior Bowl notes before we head out of here?
yeah, so okay, I there were like 3 or 4 guys that I saw that I had something to say about. First off, the Pat Bryant
Mm,
out of Illinois. I really liked his tape, his one-on-one drills. So I went back
hmm
and watched a little bit of his game and I like that he's like a physical guy and a really good contested catch guy. Um, he had a really nice catch in one-on-ones where the guy was like on him the whole time and he ended up, in the corner near the end zone and like caught a ball over the shoulder with his left hand, like one-handed.
Oh wow.
And so just the way he was kind of just he was in control
hmm
of everything that was going on physically and then positioning himself where he wanted to be and then he could bring the ball down uh, in those weird moments because I mean the Senior Bowl one-on-ones, it's like mixed quarterbacks and wide receivers and like you don't have that chemistry with the guys, so there's a lot of frustrating like zig when you should have zagged type moments, but he seemed to look natural. He seemed to look like he was in tune, no matter who was covering him or who was throwing him the ball. But I don't know. That's my first guy.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I haven't watched much of Pat Bryant. I have been seeing his name pop up for the Senior Bowl stuff, so I'm excited to get into him. I'll throw out Tez Johnson.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like almost broke the scale in the other way by only weighing 156 pounds at 5'9". So his chances of the NFL success are just, I don't know. But man, he is just cooking people in these
Dude,
one-on-one drills. Like nobody has an answer for his quickness and his ability to get open. So obviously I'm worried. You see the Tutu Atwells and guys like that of that size just not
Hmm.
really be consistent in the NFL. And I'm worried about,
156.
yeah, like I don't see it, you know. I mean, the only guy that's really been able to get over that is like a Devonta Smith, and Tez Johnson didn't win the Heisman, so I don't see it happening. But man, is he fun to watch in these one-on-ones.
Yeah, he's snappy, dude.
Hmm.
He's just like a freaking typewriter, man. Just But yeah, he's coming off some pretty good seasons, over 800 in two of
Yeah.
the years and almost 1200 last year. A little bit of transfer. All these guys went to multiple schools, I guess. Want a well-rounded education. Good for them. He's definitely a guy I had on there. Um, I like that your boy Noel had some feisty drills.
Hmm.
I was impressed with Jack
Yeah,
Beck.
yeah, Jack Beck. Yeah,
Yeah. I thought like for sure I was looking at a tight end, like
he's
the
a
way he
converted
kind
tight
of
end.
okay, is he?
Yeah, yeah.
I was very impressed. I was like, this guy can move. He's getting pretty after it. And then, apparently PFF knows about him. He's 56 on the big board, kind of top 10 wide receivers right now. But there's no way I don't think he could play tight end. If this is 6'2", 215 on the
Mm.
PFF board, let's see if that's anywhere
Uh,
close what he ended up.
he ended
Let's see.
up
Oh yeah.
at where'd he go?
6'1", 212 is what I
Okay,
got
there you
for
go.
him.
Yep.
But I thought, yeah, I thought he paced himself pretty well. I don't know what his role really is, but he definitely knew what he was doing on the field and kind of a guy that caught my attention.
Yeah, he was on my list here to talk about too. He uses his size and strength to his advantage of being that tight end convert. And he was surprisingly good off the line for a tight
Hmm.
end convert, I thought. And then yeah, like there's a clip going around where he just like gets off the line and like shoves the guy and just the guy goes flying backwards. And then that's how he got open for that drill. And like he's just doing it in all the ways. So I was really excited about him. Throwing out an actual tight end now. We
Oh yeah.
got Elijah. I don't know how to say his last name. All right, Ario. I should have looked that up before. Apologies to the man, but he's out of Miami. Weighed in or measured in at 6'4.5", 251. But his size and speed combination for a tight end is crazy. Like he is toasting guys in the one-on-one drills, like looking like a wide receiver out there, kind of the opposite of Beck, like just these quick steps, this quick movement, and then using his size, even if the guy is near him afterward. Like, I think he can make this tight end class super, super interesting and deep.
Yeah. Which I'm going with Arroyo.
Arroyo, that's
Yeah.
probably it.
I watched him. So I watched day one and then day two, and he was a guy that stood out as like a guy who made kind of a leap in day two.
Mm.
Like day one was pretty solid. He had good physical presence because I'm pretty sure these guys are all going against corners, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like he was at a disadvantage on the speed, but then like day two, he tightened it up and almost made me change my mind about him. So
Oh, wow.
that was
Nice.
pretty cool to see. But yeah, I'm fresh out of wide receivers, but I'm gonna tell you for sure that Tommy Hill,
Mm.
the cornerback out of Nebraska, is not going to be a successful NFL cornerback. This
Okay.
dude was making these guys look outstanding. And also, like, who drafted these teams? The American team wide receivers are nowhere near as badass as the national team wideouts. So I guess to deal with that, we'll see how it plays out. But I don't know, dude. I wish there were more drills for running backs. Maybe that'll be coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. I mean, I feel like they could pop during the actual game. It's kind of weird unless they start doing these one-on-ones. I did want to throw out Jaylin Royals, wide
Oh yeah.
receiver out of Utah State. I think he is winning every possible way to physicality, speed, footwork, seems untouchable off the line. I mean, he's a little shorter at 5'11", but 210 is solid, being a little thicker. So he can kind of bully people, and I think he's just showing off. And I'm pretty excited. I haven't watched much on him other than Senior Bowl stuff. I'm excited to dive into him.
Yeah, he's a guy that I'm like ignoring for now because I think he's probably gonna get a lot of love when we get down to the
The tournament.
Yeah,
I could
because
see
I
that.
I think I've caught that name in several places doing like the box score boomers and stuff like that. So I think he's got some big stat lines coming at us. So
Yeah, I'm with you.
we'll
Well,
see.
did you have anybody else?
No,
Okay.
I nailed
Um,
it.
I did want to throw out Jackson Dart.
Okay,
I
okay.
think he's been looking pretty good. Honestly, like maybe not. It's a weaker QB room, this year, but I mean his combination. He had 584 yards on the ground this year, and for Ole Miss and almost 4,000 yards. And he's been popping up on my feet a lot, making some pretty nice throws, and kind of commanding the field. So I'm just in a QB class that is a little bit of a question mark. I just like throwing him out as a potential watch for the Senior Bowl.
I like that, dude. I've been digging him all season and kind of everything he's doing with Trey Harris and everything. So I'm pumped to hear this. I do want to say, sorry, I'm reversing
You're
on you
good.
with the Jaylin Royals. I was like, I know I've caught his name in the Boomers. So I took a look to see what his stats were. I'm like 800 yards on the season. That doesn't make any sense. Then I look at the game log and he only played through week 7.
Oh wow.
And he had games of like 211 yards, 155,
Hell yeah.
188, just like outstanding performances. And then so with him being evidently, obviously, there's probably some kind of injury, but with him out there at the Senior Bowl,
Yeah.
proving he's healthy, that's probably going to put him in contention to be one of those guys that fantasy guys may overlook. So I'm gonna
Hey, keep an eye on him.
gotta get that third round gold right there.
All right. Well, there you have it. This will be out right around the time of the Senior Bowl, so hopefully you'll be able to listen and get some names to watch for the Senior Bowl. Excited to keep diving into these rookies, man. This is my favorite time of the year.
Mhm.
Um, well, after the season anyway. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
Hell yeah. Have a great life, everybody.
Oh, damn.
I took a lease out on your heart.